Hi everyone, Des here again, and welcome along to lecture number 2 in the Alphacam side of the Advanced Manufacturing Technology module. And today we're going to talk about Geometry Creation Part 1. So what we'll be doing today is completing a number of exercises, and those will help us learn how to create geometry such as lines, rectangles, arcs, splines. We're also going to explore the deleting geometry and auto snap functions. And probably more importantly than any of that, we're going to begin drawing using coordinates. And moving over to Alphacam itself, we'll begin with a quick recap of last week. Last week we experimented with some of the geometry features. You may be in the Home or Edit or View tab when you first open the software. So turn on the Geometry tab and experiment with some of the geometries. I'm going to hit Rectangle, and it's prompting me to put in the coordinates to precisely position the rectangle, which we'll do in a couple of seconds. But for now, just draw a rectangle, and let's draw another rectangle and just get a feel for some of the geometry involved. Let's also go and select a circle, press the drop down arrow, and let's pick this type of circle, the center and point. That allows us to pick a point and then a point. The first point being the center point, the second point being the point on the circumference. If I want to draw that circle snapped onto one of the corners, there's a good chance that the auto snap is turned off by default. You can turn the auto snap on in two places, down here at the bottom or up in the top left of the geometry ribbon. So let's turn it on here. That allows us to snap on the various points in our model. Remember also that if you want some construction lines, you simply turn on this button, the construction button. Now everything you draw, for example, a line, will be drawn in this purple color, that purple color representing construction geometry in Alphacam. The green lines represent proper workable, machinable geometry, purple lines, construction geometry. Let's now get rid of this. I want to start a proper drawing. So what we can do is just delete that. Anytime you want to do something to existing geometry, you are not going to find too much help in the Geometry tab. You want to go over to the Edit tab. And in the Edit tab, I want to call up Delete. And I could draw a box around everything, but I want to get rid of everything. So down here, select All, select Finish, and when prompted, select OK. Now, we briefly discussed drawing using coordinates in the last lecture, and I want to explore that in a bit more detail. Provided we're in a proper XY view, if I go to View and ISO, you won't see these coordinate bands across the bottom and vertical axes. So make sure you go to View and XY, and as you pan by depressing the mouse wheel, you can move the coordinates around. So let's go to Geometry, and I want to turn off the construction, and we'll also turn off the auto snap, and we'll explore the drawing using coordinates with a line. If I press line, I can position a point, the start point of the line, anywhere, and as I move around, I want you to note this bottom portion of the screen. It feeds me back the current XY coordinates. So watch that moving as I draw. And if I snap it on somewhere randomly, it doesn't actually snap it on randomly, it snaps it onto the exact coordinates of the cursor at that time. If the scale along the side or bottom ever gets too tight, simply zoom in or zoom out and you'll see the scale gets bigger or smaller. So if I want to put this point at 100, 100, let's just zoom back out a little bit. There we go. What I can do is move the mouse very slowly and try to get to the position of 100, 100, and that's not really going to work for us. Or it's prompting us in the command bar to enter the X and Y coordinates. So I can simply type in 100 on my keypad, press Tab, 100, and then enter. It positions that point at the line 100, 100. And if I zoom in a little, you can see if I bring the cursor over the point, the crosshairs show me that it's 100 down and 100 across. Let's now draw another line at a point 200, 150. So type in 200, tab 150, enter. And you should spend a little bit of time familiarizing yourself with the coordinate system. The first value you put in, for instance in this case I'm going to put in a point 200, 100. 200, tab. That 200 is a value of 200 along the x-axis from left to right. And the value of 100, 100, enter, is a value of 100 vertically upwards. And to close this triangle, I can then go back and use a value of 100, tab 100, enter, or I could have just drawn it with a snap command. So please have a go at drawing that triangle. And now what we're going to do is draw a circle with a known radius. So center plus radius, that type of circle. Let's say the radius is going to be 200 millimeters and press enter or press OK. And now it prompts us to locate the circle somewhere. So I want to locate the circle at a point 100, 100. So rather than trying to snap onto it, you can see it's prompting us to give it the coordinates down at the bottom. So let's give it 100, tab 100, enter. And it positions the circle where we want it. So let's do an exercise. I want you to practice deleting the geometry. So let's go to Edit, Delete, select All, press Finish, and press OK. And this time we're going to draw a square, rather a couple of squares, but we're going to draw them in two separate ways. So let's go up and activate the Geometry tab and a rectangle. Remember, a square is just a special case of a rectangle. And I want this to be 100 millimeter by 100 millimeter square. So with the rectangle command, I'm going to start off with the first point being 100, tab 0, enter. And pay attention to where that first point has started. It's on the ground essentially. It's horizontally aligned from 0, but it's 100 mil tucked in from 0 in the x direction. If you're ever unsure about the coordinates, I know I want to put the mouse cursor approximately here. I want that to be 100 by 100. So move the mouse cursor approximately where you want it, and it should give you an indication down here in the automatic or the real-time live coordinate box. But I happen to know I want to put in a value of 200, tab 100, enter. So just to recap, that first point was entered at 100, 0. The second point was entered at 200, 100. So you can draw a square with two coordinates. You don't need to put in all four coordinates. Let's now call up the line command and use different coordinates. This time we're going to draw the same square, or rather a similar square beside this one, but using 4 lines instead of a rectangle. And I'll flash these coordinates up on screen in a minute, but the coordinates are as follows. The first point is going to be at 250, tab 0, enter. Then moving across, let's go up this way actually. Let's move horizontally. So let's go 350. Remember, that's 250. I want to add on 100, so I'm moving over to the right another 100. So this point is 350, tab 0, enter. I now want to move up, so I want to make some progress in the y direction, but not the x direction. So this point, you notice that the current reading down at the bottom is about 350, 100. So although it's not close, or it's not precise, it is close. So I can use that to approximate what the point is there. And it's going to be 350, tab 100, enter. I'll now move over to this corner and I can see it's approximately 250, 100. So I'll tidy that up. 250, tab 100, enter. And rather than tapping in the coordinate this time, I'll turn on the auto snap and have it snap and press escape, and it creates the other rectangle for me. So that's 2 rectangles created using coordinates, or 2 squares I should say. So please have a go at drawing those. This is the next exercise we're going to have a go at. It's slightly more complex, but it's still based on horizontal and vertical lines. So there's a series of horizontal and vertical lines with a lot of dimensions included. And this exercise is geared at getting you to think about inputting lines using coordinates. I don't necessarily want you to copy these next coordinates unless you have to. They are the coordinates required to draw this shape from start to finish, starting at this corner, but it's more important that you appreciate where the coordinates come from. I certainly don't want everybody to just copy the coordinates and type them in. They're there for help only. So let's draw it using the coordinates, explaining them as we go. So in Alphacam, I want to start off somewhere around this area. I don't want the new shape overlapping my two rectangles. So I will go to Geometry and Line and pick a nice even point for the time being, somewhere around here. If you look at the feedback down at the bottom, I can see a point approximately 450, tab 0 works for me. So type in 450, tab 0, enter for the first point. So 450 is the distance I move from the left to the right along the x-axis, and 0 is how high I move up. So the first coordinate is always the left and right, the second coordinate is the up and down. We're going to draw this counterclockwise, so if you look at the drawing you can see I need to move across 29. So I was at a value of 450, now I need to add 29 onto that. So my next coordinate will be 479, tab 0. 0 because I haven't made any progress up and down. Now in this case I do need to move up. I need to move up 27. So this coordinate is going to be 479, tab 27, enter. Likewise, I need to move across this way. So start, in every case, add the dimension on to the previous dimension and make your way across. So let's put in 510, tab 27, 510, tab 0, 554, tab 0, 554, tab 50, 591, tab 50, and just to do the maths on this one, I need to go up the way 30, so I'm at 591, 50. I still want to remain at 591 because I'm not making any progress to the right, but I do want to move up 30. So that's going to be 591, tab 80. So 531, tab 80. I need to move down now, so that's 531 again, tab 45. Then we're going to go to 498, tab 45. 498, tab 80. 450, tab 80. And finally, right the way back, if you don't snap it on, you can always put in the last coordinate. 450, tab 0, enter. And tap escape to confirm. Now I went through that quickly. I really want you to go through that slowly and understand why every point was the number it was. It's very important that you know how to draw a shape like that using coordinates. You're not going to make any significant headway in this software unless you're able to draw using coordinates like that. So please take a few minutes to draw that and get that drawn using coordinates. For exercise 3, I want to change tact a little. We're going to move slightly away from coordinates. We will still be using them, but I want to talk about drawing some curves. So this is the exercise we're going to draw. So back in the Alphacam software, I'm going to position this somewhere around this area. So I will go to Geometry, and I want to turn on a construction line. So select Construction, select Line, because this horizontal line, as you see in the drawing, 90 millimeters across, is a construction. I'm going to start here somewhere, so I'm going to pick a nice even value of 200, tab 200, enter. And moving across 90 to the right, the new coordinate will be 290, tab 200, enter. And tap escape to create the line. Be careful to turn off the construction now. and I want to create a circle, and the type of circle I want is this one, the center one on the top, center plus radius. Clicking that, you're prompted down at the bottom to type in a radius. So the first radius I want is 25, and press OK, and that will allow me to snap the circle onto the endpoint of the line. If the snap doesn't work, be sure to turn the snap on down here. So place that circle there with a single click. To get another circle, the command is still open, it still says 25, so press OK, drop a circle at that end. We also need a pair of circles radius 10, so type in a value of 10, enter, and drop it on there, and another one. Dropping it on here snaps on. You could just as easily have typed in the coordinate, but I find it easier to put in the, just to drag and drop it in with a click. And tap escape. From the drawing you'll see that there's a circle, a larger circle up here, radius 60, and it is tangential to this circle and that circle. You could draw a load of arcs and precisely geometrically find the center point, but the software will do it for you. Pressing the drop down arrow under circle and selecting this type of circle, tangent circles with known radius. The radius of the circle I'm after is 60, and it's going to be a tangent to 2 arcs. So press 2 arcs and try your best to click the 2 circles roughly where the tangential point will be. So I'm going to click that circle there and this circle here. And in grey you see every conceivable circle that will be tangential to both of those. If you happen to not get the right one straight away, which we have, you can always right click, next circle, right click, next circle, and keep advancing through until you get the circle you're after. In our case it is correct, so right click, accept highlighted circle. And we'll repeat the command and do one at the bottom. And straight away, right click, accept highlighted circle. I now want to use the trim command to trim away some of the excess. So we're getting out of the geometry tab, moving over to edit, and calling up this trim feature. Similar to AutoCAD, if you're used to it, you need to select everything first of all that's involved in the trim. So I'm going to go down and press all, and then press finish. Finish does not close the trim command, it closes the selection portion of the trim command. So select finish, and now start clicking away the elements you don't want. When you're happy, tap escape, and you'll find in this instance I forgot to get rid of that arc, so I will press delete, click that arc, and press finish. And I have what I'm after. There's the shape. Just on a side note, this will be more important in the next few weeks. I'd like you to press Control, hold Control in fact, and press G, Control G. And a number of these white arrows will appear. Those are called ghost tools, and they're going to show us where the machine will engage the workpiece and what direction it will move in. The fact that there are so many white ghost tools in this top portion shows me that it's fragmented. In fact, if I hover over the individual pieces, they become highlighted separately. So what I'd like you to do now is call up the join command, select all, then finish, and what it does is it joins the geometry together as much as possible, and ideally every individual loop, every individual circle or line should have its own ghost tool. So this entire closed circle has its own white ghost tool, no more, just one. The entire outer profile has one, and this circle has one, and that's the ideal situation. I'm going to ask you to turn off those ghost tools now for a second, Control G, and we'll come back to those when we need them. Let's do a little bit of work now on the Edit tab. There's a lot of features in here that we need to learn, but for now let's just use probably one of the most simplest ones. I'm going to use the copy command, so select copy, and it prompts you to select. I do not want to select all, because if I select all it picks everything in the entire window. So what I will do is click and drag a selection window over that link, and when I'm happy that I'm finished selecting everything I need to copy, select finish. It then asks you to pick up a base point, and you can either pick that up by typing in a coordinate, or what I'm going to do now is click the point, and that then allows you to drag a copy somewhere. So I want to position this copy at the point 400, 200. So I can now either click it or type in 400 tab 200 enter. And it allows me to put in multiple copies. So here I'm going to put one in at 450 tab 145 enter, or let's just do it this way. You can drop them in by eye like that. That's the copy command. Move command is similar. You select move, you select all the shapes in question and press finish, pick it up, but this time the entire object moves, it doesn't leave a copy behind it. We have time for another few, so let's go to offset, select offset. The offset distance in this case will be 15 millimeters. I'm going to press OK, and I'm going to click that line and then click inside, that line and click inside, and so on. Similar to AutoCAD. Here I'll click that line and bring it inside as well, just for practice, and that's the offset command. We have a little bit more work to do on that as time goes on. Let's put a small chamfer on the side of this as well. So we're going to go up and press chamfer. The first distance will be 5 mil, the second distance will be 5 mil. Press OK, and now if I select this line and that line, it will chamfer it for me. The command is still active, so let's select that line, and the bottom two as well, that line and that line. Let's try another chamfer. So hit chamfer again. Let's this time go 5 and then 10 mil, and it will put a slightly asymmetric chamfer on for me. So what I'm going to do now is use the undo. So the red icon up there, undo. I'm going to press that 4 times. Let's leave the chamfer on the square to the left, and let's put a fillet on the square to the right. A fillet of radius 10 mil. Press OK, and now if I pick 2 edges, it puts a fillet on rather than a chamfer. And that sets us up now with everything we need to know to be able to do our next exercise. And here is our next exercise. Now pause the screen and take note of the measurements, or download the file on Learn Online, which will have those dimensions. But you can see it's largely based on squares and rectangles with a number of fillets applied. So I want to begin drawing that over here. So I'll start with geometry of a line. In fact, I'll turn off construction first of all and activate the line. I'm drawing this using coordinates. There's other ways to draw this. You can just draw it using construction lines, draw it all the proper shape in a particular position, and then drag and drop it into a particular coordinate. But for now, best practice, I'm going to use coordinates. I'm going to start off at a nice even spot. I'm going to pick this point, which is 800 tab 0 enter. Moving across then, I'm going to go to 920 tab 0, adding on the 120 necessary, and I'll call out the coordinates, but I'd rather if you figure them out for yourself. So the next one is 920 tab 30, moving across then 1150 tab 30. I'm simply adding on the x and y coordinates. 1150 tab 130, 920 tab 130, 920 tab 160, 800 tab 160, and finally I'll snap this one back there to the 800 tab 0 point. Tapping escape, that's the main outline of the shape done for us. I'm now going to go and turn on a construction line and start a regular construction line from the center of the left to the center of the right component there. And I'm going to lay out some construction lines instead of using coordinates for this. And I'll go to edit and offset, an offset distance of 10, and I want to offset this line. So simply click that line and click above it, click that line and click above it, and as messy as this seems, I want to divide all of that space up into those 10mm construction lines. I also want a construction line from the top down as far as there, and I also want to offset this edge. So call up the offset again, press OK, and offset this line in 10 and 20. So what I will do now is call up geometry, turn off construction, call up a regular line, and I want to snap and draw a couple of rectangles. In fact, I will do a rectangle instead of a line, but I want to snap to that intersection between those two lines. And by default, it always tries to snap to midpoints and endpoints. So what I'll do is I'll turn on snap to intersection. That should allow me to pick up this point. When I click this line and that line, it should snap to the intersection between them. Now I'm going to make sure intersection is turned on again and snap to the intersection of that line and that line. And sure enough, it puts in the rectangle for me. Let's do that again. I'm going to snap to the intersection of that line, and also hit it again, snap to the intersection of that line and that line. One more time, click the intersection. I want to snap to the intersection of that line and that line, turn it on again, then select that line and that line. And there we have the three shapes laid out as I need them. So I now want to do another offset. Tap escape to close the command. Edit, offset. This time I'll change it to 20, because I know that the rectangle I need down here is offset 20 from the top down, from the left in, and from the right in. In fact, I'll bring this one in as well. And I'm going to call up my geometry and a rectangle, and I want that intersection again. So click intersection, and it's the intersection of that line, and the intersection of that line and that line. And to get this square, this rectangle I should say, down, I'm going to use a different technique. I'm going to go to edit and copy, and I'll select the rectangle, then select finish, and pick it up by this edge and drop a copy down. In fact, I'll pick it up by this edge and drop a copy there at the intersection. So to pick up the intersection, I need to click intersection and click that line and that line. And again, I messed up once more, so I'll just undo that. Control Z is undo, or press undo up here. This time I'll try it one last time. I'll get it right this time. Hit copy and finish. And I'm going to pick it up from there, and I want to drop a copy onto this intersection right there. So intersection of that line, and that's much better. Tap escape to close the command. All I've left to do now is add the fillets, and those construction lines may get in my way. So over here in layers, if you don't see layers, make sure you go to view, show project manager page, layers, and I can just tick the box beside construction to make the construction go away for a second. And I'm going to go to edit and fillet, make sure it's set to 10mm, and I'm just going to click pairs of lines about the place and put on 10mm fillets everywhere. And there you have it. So please take as much time as you need to be able to complete those exercises. All those exercises should be in a single Alphacam file, as you see here. When you have it completed, save it and upload it to the proper Dropbox on Learn Online. So from the date that the video is uploaded, you're going to have 10 days to upload the completed assignment. If you're unsure about the exact date, then please check the actual Dropbox on Learn Online. So thanks for your attention, and next week we will talk about more geometry creation and more advanced editing of geometries.